Hi guys, my name is Simpzy. How you all doing? Welcome back to some more Hearts of Iron 4 here today on the channel. We're back on our road to 56 modded Let's Play as Brazil. This is episode 4. In today's episode, we have begun the invasion of Great Britain. And if we're successful, we might have to go and liberate the Germans because they are swarmed at the moment. We've really got to go and help them out. They could very well capitulate here today. So, if you like the sound of the sort of forecast for this episode, feel free to leave the video a like, subscribe if you're new around here with notifications on, let me know in the comments feedback and suggestions for the series, and where you'd like me to expand and conquer. In the last episode, we managed to take, and we sort of helped out Mexico. We also managed to take the United States out. So, fortunately enough for me, with the conquest of Denmark, we were able to take Iceland here. Now, we've managed to island hop from the United States with the help of their navy, and we've moved over here. We've invaded the north of Scotland, and we're starting the invasion of Britain. Once Britain capitulates here today, we're going to be able to properly core and control the states, because the United States, the United Brazilian States, as it's currently under the control of Mexico for now. So we need to move over my air force where I can, but man oh man, Germany is having a absolute horrid campaign. I sort of left them for their own devices. It's 1944. To be fair, maybe it's a little bit of, like, maybe I should have helped them out earlier. Maybe I should have conquered Central and North America and South quicker, but they are looking really green around the gills as it have. So we've managed to drop about 50 or so divisions up in the north in Scotland. Winston Churchill is fully focusing on the reconquest of France. The Red Army is actually probably about to take Berlin. The Allied forces have been successful in their Normandy invasion. I just feel bad for the Germans because I probably couldn't really have done too much. You sort of just, like, you know, when your teammates just terrible. Yeah, I kind of relied on them maybe a little bit too much. To be fair, they were unlucky. The position where they're in, it basically comes down to three situations. First of all, they were successful in dealing with France incredibly early on, which is fantastic. However, they weren't able to completely eliminate the Belgium and the Dutch Benelux holdout. Second of all, they were dragged into the Yugoslavian conflict, and that is not a good theatre to fight in. Oh, and the fall of Berlin. Oh, man, the Germans are probably gone. They're probably going to capitulate here today before I can take Britain. Far out. Lucky I've got the civilian factories because I'd probably capitulate. And also, they declared war upon Poland in 1940. They should have done that 3 years ago, which is crazy. But we'll continue the offensive in Britain. Okay, so it's the 12th of July, 1944. We've been able to take the north of Scotland with relative impunity, while the British are mostly focusing against the Germans. I reckon we can capitulate the Allies. China and Japan and the Allies sort of battling it out over there. Spain's kind of chilling in their own faction and block. Yeah, Romania came in and smacked them as well. So we've just taken the... Oh, Rome's fallen. Oh, we do have nukes in the bag, so we're going to be able to use them in and around London at some point. Italian troops are starting to drop here as well. Oh no, that's Mexican. Wrong flag, exactly. Once we get rid of the Brits, we're going to be able to take out the Allied forces. So it's what's left of the States. It's mostly the French. Yeah. The Confederacy, yeah. And also, they sort of let the Red Army... They didn't... Yeah. They declared war upon Poland too late, and they really should have gone after the Soviet Union a hell of a lot quicker. So we're just trying to get our supply lanes and logistics sorted as we're hammering through Great Britain now. Liverpool, Manchester, Newcastle. It looks like we're going to be able to take with impunity. Oh, there seems to be some partisan forces there. Some belligerents. We'll hold on to them. Yeah, they're mostly focusing on the D-Day invasion. Look, if we can quickly take out Britain, the better. Okay, now towards the south of the country. Yeah, up in the north, I'm not unsurprised. They weren't expecting the Brazilian Inquisition. We have the... Oh, okay, that's good. So, at least they're at war with Spain now. That's broken out. But they weren't expecting a united Americas from north to south to come up against them. But the Germans, how are they still holding on? And the Italians. So the British have brought some units back, but we might be able to capitulate them. We've taken most of North and the Midlands. Wales is about to fall. We've taken Plymouth. And luckily for me as well, most of the naval disruption for the British was actually put in the Channel and in Wales. So we actually managed to bypass completely those landmines. We were able to, once we took out the States, easily island hop from here to Iceland. What was Greenland under the control of? Yeah, Greenland as well. So the British have managed to scramble back some forces, but they are really still going strong into liberating France, which I completely understand. Depending on how many units they try to hold in London, we might have to nuke it off. Yeah, so Germany is basically no more. 12 million manpower they've lost total, the Axis. 6... Oh, no, there's actually 13... Oh, my God. 13 million Germans. I don't think I've ever seen a calamity like that. The Italians, like 3 million. That's crazy. We have 8 million in the bank because we've basically united the Americas, which is understandable. Ah, that's just sometimes how that's just sometimes how it works. We actually might end up being the leader of the Axis. We might actually be a safe haven for the Germans, like in Argentina, but I guess the entire Americas. Yeah, look at this. The Red Army has taken most of it up. Mexico's actually sort of defending and holding. There are some Allied control and territory down in the Caribbean and whatnot. The UK has capitulated. Finally. Good. Alrighty. The fall of Cairo as well. So let's go through the peace conference now and divide up the world. Yeah, so Germany capitulated. So we actually have to deal with the German territory. So we're, for all intensive purposes, the head of the Axis. So now with the Allies fallen, we get to decide how the world shapes up. So we've got to take the states for myself. We'll give Mexico as well to the Catholic Mexicans, but we're going to be able to take first up the United Brazilian States using our Player Let's Peace conference. So we've still got Luxembourg, Netherlands, Belgium, India, France to divvy up as well. We've also got here, so we'll basically satellite the rest of the overseas US territory. We'll take Canada for ourselves as well. UK wise, we'll take all of the UK and its territory because we did most of the hard yards and heavy lifting on that. But yeah, I don't know how much of the German territory we're going to take, because essentially we're probably going to have to give most of it to the Soviets, but they're not sort of in this war. They'll probably take half of it. So we've still got to divvy up now back in Europe. Denmark, also Ireland. We'll take Ireland. I guess they were brought in on this war. I don't think there was actually fighting of Brazilian soldiers there, but so be it. So there's Germany, France, Netherlands, Belgium, and Denmark to divvy up as well. The Italians do have that Yugoslavian territory, but man, oh man, only the Italians were able to hold off. We might actually have to go to war with the Soviets here today. We should have time, because I've actually wrapped up the UK a lot quicker than what I expected. We could puppet them potentially, or maybe we can create an East and West Germany. Maybe that's the play. But if we puppet them, yeah, so we basically take the East there. Because they capitulated, we get to decide what happens, because they got capitulated by Comintern and Allied forces. We don't have enough. Yeah. We're basically just going to have to spam through. Okay, so we've got Germany under our control. We could actually give them... But the thing is, right, they did most of the work in the Netherlands and France, so maybe I should just give it back to the Germans. Yeah, that looks a lot better. Because although they definitely stuffed things around in this series and essentially nearly lost us the war in Europe, they did take Denmark, they did take France, before they got swallowed into that Yugoslavian pocket. So we puppeted the Germans, and we'll basically allow them to take this territory back. I have no idea if they're actually going to be able to hold on to this. We actually have to quickly pivot and swarm over there. Because with Germany capitulated, their armies are basically not in existence. I don't know, yeah, is there too much of a grave consequence? Maybe I was better off taking it for myself. No, we'll just give it to the Germans though. Calculating now. It's going to take a bit here. There we go, the Treaty of Alexandria. Okay, so we have 7 million manpower. We took 193 states. The Allied forces have been subdued. And now it's just a Axis and Comintern world. So the Comintern have only lost 2 million, which is absolutely nothing. And the Japanese and the Chinese are still battling it out in the Far East in the Pacific. Okay guys, welcome to October 1944, and this is how the global theatre looks. So the world is divided between Axis and the Comintern. We've got India, Australia, the United States of Brazil, and even though we puppeted Germany, it did actually get mostly annexed by the Comintern. So I've moved my army to basically hold Western Germany. I've set up some front lines to push the Soviets to the Ural mountain range. So although the Allies are gone, Berlin is still under Soviet Red Army occupation. So we shall try and drop some nukes on the Russians for the first time. We've hit the States with them and the British with them. Even though we're bombing German Allied lands, it's a must if we're going to throw back Stalin and the Red Tide. So we are, for all intents and purposes, the head of the Axis forces. With Germany capitulating, they're technically our puppets now. So the Brazilians are coming over to save the day. So we've got Ireland. There still seems to be pockets of resistance here and there. The Germans still have Vienna and whatnot. Yeah, so it's mostly the Italian army that's what left. The Germans will eventually, once they get those Volkswagen factories up and running, once we take back the factories. So we've essentially... Well, it'd be kind of cool if there was a new faction leader, because, well, you know Hitler probably would have done. So we've got 122 divisions in active duty, just over 2,000 battalions, my support equipment, my rifles. We're getting some nuke subs as well. We have 207 military factories. We've got an abundance of civilian, and we are currently still 100% Torino Fascismo. I don't know where I'm going with that. But anyway, Denmark we need to push and take as well, as the Soviets hold that. So even though we took and gave it back Germany, France, and a couple of areas as well, we're going to have to push the Soviets back where we can, which is going to be easier said than done. We've knocked out the British here today, but the Soviets are realistically another task. But also, what's a huge must here is that the Romanians, we're not at war with them, because they were at war with the Germans somehow. They're actually... we might actually have to declare war upon them, because we're actually losing territory to them in the south, which is kind of odd. Yeah, this got crazy. Yeah, so they're actually like down in... Yeah, what? So the Romanians actually occupied that Italian territory in Yugoslavia. Yeah, so they're swinging around here now. Indonesia has capitulated. What? I knew the Dutch... Oh, okay, so I'm assuming the Japanese haven't even been paying attention. Well, because we're using a Playlands peace conference, we get to control what happens. I remember, I haven't looked down here in so long. They were sort of doing their thing. As you can see here, there seems to be Japanese armies off the coast, so I'm going to assume that Indonesia has been conquered by the Japanese, so I'm just going to give that to them. There's no way the Allies did it, they're gone, so I'm assuming the Japanese are going to get it. So I'm going to give all of Indonesia to Japan. I'm sure they're eyeing off Axis Australia. Brazilian Australia. Well, yeah, they got that under their control, as we technically own Thailand now. Yeah, the Philippines. Yeah, because we pop it in, it looks cool. Fighting is fierce on the Eastern Front. The Swedes are about to surround and kill. What? There's like, oh my god, there's like 20 divisions there nearly. There's even more in the north. I would love if fighting broke out on the Japanese border. That'd be cool. So we're still trying to push the Comintern where we can. We've managed to take back most of Eastern Germany for now. However, the Kingdom of Romania is really putting the pressure on the Entente, essentially. But we're still managing to push back the Russians where we can. Light tank, we can finally get an upgrade for that. But now, with the United Forces, essentially we are the Allied forces under our control, and we've got South America, so it's going to be a long grind, just due to the manpower and sort of armoured vehicles and tanks they have. But it looks like, yeah, they're just sort of hanging down further in the south. They're about to surround and kill an abundance of Soviets there. And once we knock out the Comintern, we should be able to wrap up this global conflict in today's episode. Yeah, they're really pushing against me here. What's going on? Oh, no? Oh, I thought the... we got Hawaii. I thought like, it said like the States were there or something. Okay, so it looks like a... So, okay, so they've taken Estonia there. The Swedes are trying to push them out in the north, where they're currently fighting, and they're currently fighting in Estonia as well. We've basically actually retaken Poland there, which is really good. If we can capitulate the Soviets before the Romanians do, because the Romanians probably actually have a bigger army than the Soviets, because they've been doing tremendously well, because they have occupying most of the Balkans. It's been quite a while since we've had a look at the national focuses, so we've basically completed the Western style of the tech tree. We've gone through the centre political stuff. I've got some army upgrades there. I've sort of negated the army stuff, but we can probably go with continuous focuses now, because I don't really see much else that's worth it. So we'll go with that army training. January 1945. Oh, what's this? Oh, Leopold's Belgium and Congo has capitulated, as if that's a thing. I guess when Belgium and the Netherlands fell, all their overseas territories formed up into independent kingdoms. I guess we'll just give it to the Germans, because they occupy the French colonial territory, along with the Italianos. But, yeah, we'll continue on the Soviets. Yeah, so we'll give that to Das Germans. Or maybe we should just give it to the Italians. Yeah, that might be better. Why are their units still there, though? Yeah, it was actually the Italians that did the work. I just thought because the Germans... Of course the Germans weren't going to be able to take it. But fierce fighting is still on the border. It's still neck and neck. Man, this could very well, like, blow out to 1946 before we even get onto the steps of Russia and try and quell the Soviet Union. So we've nearly got 1947 light tanks coming in. Nukes are done. Maybe radar. We haven't even really needed that though. Yeah, Romania. Looks like we're still managing to hold them off where we can. Yeah. Now it's getting a little bit more narrow. It's better. Oh, and the Germans are actually deploying proper forces now. They have about 30 divisions or so helping us out. So I really focused on submarines and infantry. Only light tanks. So we've got like the anti-tank stuff to rip through the Soviets. Let's get some more improved there, because the more we can get, the better. But manpower and infantry is what's gonna win the series for us here today. Still slowly but surely pushing against the Soviets. It's taking multiple months, but maybe dropping some nukes on Moscow and Sevastopol and Kiev and a couple of others might be able to soften them up a bit. Oh, it looks like the Swedes are coming to help out. The Great Northern War begins in the 1900s. I'm sure they're keen to get some vengeance, and I'm sure they want that territory in and around Finland and St. Petersburg, the Swedes. But Russia is about to burn the atomic bombing of Moscow. It's kind of cool that how late this series ended up going, because we're actively fighting with a nuclear Brazilian power. So the Swedes are still doing well. It's actually Leningrad in this. I've been recording a lot today, my Prussian Empire series. Don't know when that's going to go out in order, I think. So that's why I called it St. Petersburg, because in that time period it was under the control of and construction of Peter the Great. But now it's Leningrad to honor one in the name of the bosses. Spain's coming to help us out. Okay, it's a lot more towards their side now. So we have 3.7k battalions, 193 divisions now. It's just how it is, back and forth, back and forth. It takes some time. The United States, essentially what you'd do in real life, you'd sue for peace for a bit. But this is an all-out global conflict, of course. So the Swedes are trying to take Estonia now. They did well. They had Leningrad for a bit, now they pushed back, but there was definitely waves. Like, we pushed into these states, taking Texas and the south, then we pushed into the Midwest slowly, and then it took us nearly as long to take the eastern states, but we're starting to get onto the footsteps of Muscovy and Ukraine and whatnot. Okay, guys, we're about to take Moscow now in October. I don't think we're going to be able to finish them before 1946, but we're hammering through the Caucasus now. We've managed to wrap around the bottom side of Sevastopol, and Brazilian troops are about to storm the Winter Palace and bring down the Red Army. But the Soviets, if they didn't have a human player, they were probably going to be the dominant power in Europe. They sat back, they were patient, they went through their reforms, and for an AI to not join any wars except for 1942, they didn't attack Finland, they didn't attack Poland, only the Germans. I've got to give it to them. The Soviets definitely get a thumbs up for this playthrough. And the Soviets have now capitulated here today. Phew! We've gone and done it. We've wrapped up Britain and the Soviet Union here today. And thus the end of the series. We're going to take the Soviet Union for myself, and we've done essentially a world conquest playing as Brazil. Thank you very much for watching. I've had an absolute blast playing as Brazil. My first time playing as them. I definitely thought that a Brazilian series would have been easier, especially at the start. It took us a long time to conquer all of South America. It's just because like so much RNG can happen, factions can get guaranteed and supported. There's just obviously so many crazy influences that can happen. So we managed to conquer South America. We went up to Mexico to help out them against the United States. We took out Britain, the Soviet Union. We brought back Germany. And as our reward, we are the head of the Axis forces now. Japan has actually knocked out China. The United Front is still hanging out here. I have no ambition. We're pushing into China. And the Spanish were kind of weird because they kind of helped us out in some stuff, but now they've got their own sort of eastern block there. And Portugal still speak Portuguese and lay defiant to the Brazilian cause. But, oh man, the Germans nearly cost us in this one. It's usually the Italians, the last couple of playthroughs I've had. It's the Italians that really perform poorly and stuff things up. But the Germans, yeah. Basically what happened to the Germans in this series, they did incredibly well, knocking out the French. They maybe got drawn into Scandinavia a little bit too much, but it was these three things. They got stuck in the Netherlands and Belgium war after getting rid of the French. They couldn't take out the British quick enough. If they could do that, it's kind of hard, though. I understand. The AI doesn't very often... It's tough. It's very, very tough. Like, they need to sort of go down more of a naval doctrine. You need sort of another power to sort of help you out to stop Britain ruling the waves. So, caught in the Benelux zone and the Balkan death trap, basically, and they declared war upon Poland way too late. If they somehow, like, managed to knock out Poland in, like, 1940, 1939, they could have then pushed against the Soviets super quick, or I don't know, maybe they just were a little bit stuffed in this playthrough. Maybe I need to boost them up a little bit. But thank you very much for watching the Hearts of Iron 4 Road to 56 modded Let's Play. We played on unhistorical focuses, so it was quite nuts. It could have been a lot more crazy, but a couple of cool things came out of it. The Swedish Reich did well, and Germany basically threw the game. And the Soviets, man, oh man, you got to give a clap and a round of applause to them. They were tremendous. But yeah, I've got to replace this series with something else. So it doesn't necessarily have to be Hearts of Iron 4, but I do want to do more Hearts of Iron 4 on the channel. Just support this video and the series and I'll do more. I'm thinking India. I think that's probably the play. If you agree or disagree, there's some other factions as well. Maybe try rank them in the comments. I'm open to doing India, Romania, Mexico, or Austria. Any faction that I've never played before. So take care. This is the end of the Brazil series. Stay tuned for more Total War and Paradox and strategy game content on the channel. Unfortunately, guys, it is time to end the video here. Thank you very much for watching. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. Let me know in the comment section down below your feedback for the series. And if you would like to see more, that's the best way to ensure more content. Leave a dislike if you're not enjoying the series. Check out my social media links if you want to stay connected with me. Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all in the description below. Patreon and merchandise link in the description below, along with the Steam group. Come and join the community on Steam. And on that note, unfortunately, I have to end the video here. Thank you very much for watching once again. Make sure to take care of yourselves. Go out and have a fantastic rest of your day. My name has been Simpzy. Goodbye.